welcome to the first episode of Too Opinionated.
This is Nav.
And this is Bhumika, sharing opinions you never asked for.
So, talking about opinions, what has been on your mind recently?
Well, as always, a lot, but something that I have been constantly reflecting upon is my friendships with the women in my life and how they have shaped me in the person I am today.
Is this with all the new year and stuff that you have been reflecting so hard?
Not really with the new year. I think it has been happening because I turned 30. And instead of having like a midlife crisis, I'm having a midlife reflection.
Okay, I don't think so. 30, first of all, is midlife.
It is
No,
quarter life.
Quarter life crisis.
Well, instead of having a quarter life crisis, I'm having a quarter life reflection. Let's just say that.
Yes, that's good.
Yeah.
Do you want to shed more light on your reflection?
Sure, I don't mind. I mean, so to give you some background, I was not ever a girl's girl until last 4 or 5 years. I was a boy's girl.
Boys?
Let me break it down for you. So basically, from a very young age, I have been plus size, due to which I never looked like the girls of my age. So as a result of that, I always disassociated with womanhood because I did not feel like one of them. So what could I do in that situation? I needed to be a part of some group, right? So I would always go and try to associate with men out there. And only way I can become a part of their group was by bashing my own gender, by saying things like, oh, I cannot go and talk about nail paint, or oh, I cannot just spend my time talking about fashion. So that made me like a pick-me girl, as we call in the Gen Z terms today. But it was just my desperate effort to feel like I belong to at least one part of the society. And due to that, I never built solid relationships with women in my life. I never felt comfortable sharing things with them. I would always very proudly, let me say that, very proudly say that, oh, I cannot be friends with girls. I am better friends with men. And it was not until my late 20s that I started understanding the value, the connection, the warmth, the love that women bring to your life, and in this specific case, to my life. And that's what I have been constantly reflecting upon, that from being a person who used to proudly say that I cannot be friends with women, today coming to a point where I very proudly gave a speech on my birthday to all my female friends that I am celebrating my 30th proudly and successfully because you are in my life, and I cannot celebrate me without celebrating you. So that's what I have been reflecting upon.
I think that must have been hell of a journey from going to the point where you think you couldn't be really friends with women to now most of your friends are women.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And good ones at that too. Most of yours and mine close friends are women. But then again, it's also interesting to see that the points you made, that this is why girls couldn't be friends, are very superficial, which have been taught to us by society. Like, girls only talk about nail paints, right? Or they're not really good friends. Like, there is no basis for these things.
Even though a lot of that is superficial, it has still been established in our society like truth based upon false premises.
Please elaborate.
It feels like I'm giving like a lecture, and at every second point the student goes like, I didn't understand, please elaborate.
No, I understand where you're coming from, but not everyone knows you as I do, and then they wouldn't really connect to what your mind was thinking when you made this point.
No, I get that. I get that. So you know how media always projects that if there are two strong, successful women, there can always be one at the top. That's one thing. The second thing is to reach at the top, you all have to fight with each other. You cannot support each other. Like society pits them against each other. Our movies tell that narrative. Our magazines tell those narratives. Our shows tell this narrative.
At some points, our families also tell us those narratives.
Exactly. So, as a society, considering, as you said, all of these things are superficial, we have forgotten that they are superficial and we have started believing that they are the reality because there is so much false narrative out there that it has become a second nature. And that's why I say that yes, superficial, but it is existing like reality in our society on these false premises.
That's a very good point, actually. Now, to think of it, I can't really think of any movie or show where the best friends were two girls. No?
Never. And if they were, one of them would always be presented as a lesser person, as a side character.
You know, like how this is a thing in movies, like the main character has like a friend who's like less hotter,
Yep.
less educated, less in pretty much
Less in
everything,
everything.
less in everything, and that's how she's portrayed, and they are best friends.
Mhm.
Two equally intelligent girls, equally pretty, or equally everything. We don't see that in media. That's such a strange thing.
We see that, but we see that when they are competing with each other.
Yeah. Also, I have to Google this. This is very interesting thing. It's something called Bechdel test. I might be saying it wrong. It's a way of evaluating whether or not a film or other work of fictions portray women in a way that is sexiest or characterized by gender stereotype. To pass the Bechdel test, a work must feature at least two women. These women must talk to each other and their conversation must concern something other than a man. Right? And most of the movies and shows do not pass this test. They don't have two women talking about anything other than men. And most of the movies aimed at girls, they don't pass this.
And even when they are talking about men, they are fighting about someone, or one of them is crying to another girlfriend about a man she cannot have, or there are some issues going on. As you rightfully said, there are very few shows or instances that I can think of in the media, or at least I should say, not in recent media, but maybe until 5 years ago, the conversations were not about let's start a business together, or this is my idea and I want to do this, or I'm struggling with family, what do I do? Yes, if we look into it, we can find some examples. It's not like it's an exception, but it's rare. And it should not be rare because how many movies have been made about friendships of men?
Yeah.
And the tales of friendship of men.
Yeah.
And
Karan Arjun. It just immediately popped to my mind, and I couldn't think of a same equivalent for girls.
Exactly. And I would be lying if I don't say that until recently, I used to believe that it's only men who can be good friends, and women are supposed to be just existing in each other's life unless they move on, they settle, they have a family, and then they have their own person. And now that I'm saying this out loud, I want to puke because
It's icky behavior.
it's icky of me to say that. But I was, you know how that song goes, it's me, I'm the problem, it's me. I was the problem, bro.
Why do you think you were the problem? I know we discussed that, yes, there isn't really a good media portrayal of female friendship when we were young, but were there any other reasons as well?
To answer that, I will go back to where it all started from. That how I have been the favorite child of social norms. I have been plus size. I have had experiences in life which, if given a choice, I would rather not.
Hmm.
I was bullied, I was body shamed, I was called names, I was harassed, and a lot of that shaming and bullying came from women.
Hmm.
It came from them because I did not look like them. It came from them because I did not wear clothes like them. So, two things were happening here. One, I was disassociating with womanhood because obviously I was not feeling like
Mm-hmm.
what apparently women are supposed to feel and look like. Secondly, I was feeling betrayed in a way by them because my mind was, I am like you. My body is like you. Yes, I come in a different shape and size, but that does not mean that I am not similar to who you are. So, out of everyone in this world, I would expect my gender to support me and to understand me rather than bullying me. That was another reason that I went to men and
Sought
became
comfort, I
that
guess.
pick me girl or sorted
Mm.
comfort in it because we all need friendships.
True.
Toxic or non toxic, we need them.
Um, Non-toxic, hopefully.
But we only arrive at non toxic relationships slash friendships after our fair share of being through the toxic ones. Because you can only notice a diamond once you have like you have mined through the coal. You don't find the diamond before mining. So did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. It's such a nuanced conversation because this has got so many layers to it.
Mm-hmm.
That is it true that mostly women are the one who uphold beauty standards for other women?
Yes.
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
Are they doing it willingly?
I
This
don't think
is
so.
this is very debatable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most women in our generation and pretty much everyone in previous generation has been affected by patriarchy. And let me be very clear here: patriarchy don't help anyone. It doesn't help men. It doesn't help women. It is bad for everyone,
Mm-hmm.
right? But because they're victim of patriarchy and a standard for how women should be is very hard to accomplish and it's very set in stone. So if you just move a little point further away from the mold, you are not it and
Yeah.
you're criticized for it. Patriarchy needs women to uphold the standards it set for us.
Because who else is going to hold those standards?
We are our own biggest critics. So it's not very surprising to know that you were bullied and felt like you didn't belong and mostly came from women, but they are also a victim in a way.
100%.
But again, at what point we say that, they have to break a cycle, and then until when can we be apologizing for them? That's very debatable too.
It is. But is it as easily done as it is said that they need to break the cycle? Think about our mother's generation. Do they really have strong female presence in their lives? I don't think my mother is in touch with any of her friends from her college days or her school days. The only women she has in her life are the extended family. And without being too scandalous, let me just say, extended family can be a blessing, but at times it could be your pain point too.
I mean, I'll say at least for my side, there are lots of snakes around. Venomous ones. And this is why I said that it's very nuanced conversation. There is no right and wrong in here.
Mhm.
We are just discussing causations and
Yeah,
correlations, right?
rather than accusations.
Right. So it's very double-edged sword.
It is.
Because obviously, I feel sympathy for those women too, because they themselves hate their own image and their own body, and that's why they do what they do. But at the same time, you cannot deny the effect it has on a kid. You yourself are a perfect example of that.
Also, let me add that most of these women that we are talking about, most of them have not seen a world beyond the four walls of their house. The exceptions of women who have actually stepped out. But even if we think about those women, they were going out in a world ruled by, made by, for men. So you don't really have a lot to go out and explore. Plus, you don't have support to go out and explore. So, it's very easy for me to be educated, have worked upon myself, have the luxury of going to therapy, sitting in a foreign country, and then say that a woman in my village body shamed me once and she has to be held accountable for that. Even though it gave me trauma of, if not lifetime, for a very long time, I still need to understand that poor lady in herself is traumatized, and it's easier for me to say that she should work upon herself, but does she even know that she needs to work upon herself?
Plus, does she have the resources to?
Resources are a later part, actually. My first point is, does she have the understanding to?
Probably not. I mean, it's admirable that you understand that what was the reason that they gave you trauma, but then again, it doesn't lessen your trauma, right?
In a way, actually, it does, if I'm being very honest. Because then I'm holding them responsible for it, but I am not blaming them for it.
Hmm.
There's a difference between when you know this person did this and then you know, oh, I blame this person for doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And when you understand the reasoning, I think it increases your ability to forgive. And as it increases your ability to forgive, it increases your capacity to heal. I was not able to move on in my life unless I decided to understand the psyche of people who bullied me and then attempted to forgive them. My healing did not start with hate, it started with forgiveness.
That's actually quite admirable.
Thank you.
But I'm also like, now that I'm thinking about it, it's not the thing that everyone who's bullying anyone else is also traumatized. That could be a possibility, but then there generally are some people who just wanna ruffle some feathers, be shitty, right?
Yes, and I am going to sound like a person who is on a mission to defend all of them today, but trust me, I am not. However, I think even the people who want to ruffle feathers are the ones who do not have enough going on in their life. Because if you have passion, if you have something that you really look forward to doing, then you just get up every day and you do that. Yes, I know there are people out there who are very mean, who are very, very notorious, but I think that is also stemming from boredom or not having enough personality of their own to do something. Let me give you a very recent example. So, my grandfather passed away this year, right? And I had to take an urgent trip to India. And during the time my grandfather passed away, my grandmother was not doing well either. So, we had Rasam Pagdi for him. And we had lots and lots of people coming over, obviously, because he was a loved man. And me and my younger sister, we were with our grandmother, making sure that she's okay. Then there comes this aunt. Me and my younger sister are standing there and we greet her. You know what is the first thing she says? She says to me, why don't you take your sister with you to Canada? She will also gain some weight and you'll lose some. And why don't you just transfer some of your fat to her? And I was flabbergasted, to say the least.
What an appalling thing to say
When
on a funeral.
I have lost one of my grandparent and another one is on the bed, and you are visiting the one on the bed.
That's some fucked up shit.
This made me so agitated and angry, and I literally lost my cool for a second. And I told her that, if you can't say something good about someone's body, don't say anything bad. What made me more angry was my protectiveness towards my younger sister. Because you did not just body shame me for being fat, you body shamed her for being thin.
And she's a teenager.
She's a teenager. So my point is, you are not happy when someone's fat. You are not happy when someone's thin. You are only happy, as you initially said, when you fit in that mold. A strong woman out there has been put down by using either her career, her body, her skin, her thoughts, her opinions against her.
Yeah.
Society cannot digest strong, independent, level headed women because it is a threat to structure that we currently exist in.
Yes, 1,000 times yes.
So, coming back to that auntie, how sad and pathetic do you have to be to body shame two young girls on a funeral of their grandparent?
Exactly.
What kind of life do you have?
I think you handled the situation beautifully. What amazes me is that they are at a funeral. where obviously it's a very sad situation, and then she came there to be there for your family, and this is a person who knows you, and they picked that moment
Yes.
to just say, what, you don't look pretty enough. I mean, that person is grieving,
Yes.
and it just
And that, my friend, answers your initial question of what made me feel that I don't belong to the women's club. Let me just say it like that. Because they are the ones. And I'm not saying men don't think like that, but I did not have one uncle come to me and say anything about me or my sister's body. So it is not far fetched to understand why still so many young girls disassociate from womanhood.
also goes, if there's such a narrow definition of what it means to be a woman, not everyone will fit in it.
No one can fit in it.
Exactly.
Unless you want to pick some 4 or 5 characters that you want to project on this entire society. We are a population of multiple billions now,
Mm-hmm.
and a major portion of that is women. So, how do we expect billions of us to be represented by 4 or 5 characters out there?
That's what I was coming back at. That when you said that there wasn't any uncle who made a comment at you, that it's not like men in our lives don't have strong opinions about how we should be. It is that it is voiced through very different methods. Under patriarchy, women need to police other women. This is only how this would work.
So, I think that answers your question, right? That why did I disassociate with feminine side of mine? And this is just me, a girl from a small town in Haryana. Imagine how many others are out there like that. And if you multiply this scenario multiple times, that is what brings us into this whole narrative of why girls cannot be friends.
It's a very good point that you made, that there probably are millions of out there who think the same. But in your case specifically, I think it's not that you weren't a girl's girl. I think it was a survival pattern. And then you made it as in response of, how we go, okay, if I hate you just because of the reason you hate me, not that I actually hate you.
Yeah.
And it was very circumstantial. Well, moving on from the sappy, I know now that you're not self-proclaimed pick me. What changed that?
I think you changed that.
Oh.
Not that this episode is like a love letter to you or whatever, but that is the reality. You changed it, and then multiple women after you changed it. Because when I met you, you were bitchy to me.
That was a period of my life I was bitchy to everyone.
But everyone is the key word there.
Yes.
You were not mean to me because of who I was, how I looked, what I came with. You were just mean to me because I was a human.
I was going through it.
See, that's the difference, right? You were going through it, but you were collectively terrible to humans and not just
that terrible.
and not just projecting that on one person because that person looks different from others. Yeah. That's what differentiates.
Yeah, like you weren't being treated differently because of who you are.
Yes. For the first time, I was being treated like everyone else. Terribly, but like everyone else.
We can move on.
From terrible?
Moving on from the terrible.
So, that changed. That made me look at the other side of the coin, where women can come together, be there for each other, and lift each other to do wonderful things in their lives. Because I can not count the nights that we both cried with each other, and I cannot count because they're countless. And one thing that is constant in those countless memories is, as they would say in today's trend, we listen and we don't judge. There was no bullying, there was no shaming, there was no embarrassment. It was very open, honest conversation.
And a very safe environment.
And a safe environment. And it was not just roses and everything. There were difficult moments too where we both held the mirror against each other and we were like, are these really your own thoughts and insecurities, or are they being imposed or projected upon you? Do you really feel that about yourself? So that's where I started understanding that there is a different side of friendship with women. Also, you made me realize that I am not a terrible human being. I am a good person, and not just externally. You looked at me in a way that I felt beautiful. I had not experienced that a lot in my life before. My insecurities started settling down so much when I was around you. Even to this point, there are things that I would not try with someone else, but I would do them with you because I know I feel safe. That was new to me. And as you opened doors for that understanding or that side of life, then I started giving chance to more women in my life. I started understanding,
Interacting,
networking, and something that I used to do just in my head, that oh, she's so pretty, oh, she's so confident, oh, she's so amazing. I started vocalizing that. I was a girl's girl, quote unquote. And I am so proud of that. That's what changed. And it was not an instant flip of the switch. It took time, lots and lots of efforts.
years.
It made me reach to a point that now I have several wonderful women in my life who I look up to, who I go to for guidance, who take care of me and I take care of them. We nurture each other, we support each other in achieving our dreams, and we are just there for each other. What could be more beautiful than that?
I know nothing's more great than you being able to be yourself with the people, who are around you, and then actually have people who love you and care for you be in your life. But thank you for owing your change to me.
For how long will I have to listen?
It's online. It's forever. But truly, I don't think so. Credit is mine. I think the credit belonged to many amazing women in my life from the very beginning. We have discussed this before, that you and me, we had completely different childhoods, right? And in a way, I grew up in a matriarchy.
Yes.
And I think that's a very important part of it, that in my family, I had strong women around me always. When I was growing up, this narrative of women can't be friends or they can't support each other, this wasn't really true for me. Because yes, I saw those things in media and, because, well, we all live under patriarchy. So I did had those experiences as well. But in my own life, my mom, she had great female friends who were always around her and who were always very supportive, especially when she was going through the stuff she was going through. My nanny, she was a very strong woman. My mummies and, everyone in my life, even at some points when they weren't in each other's life actively, they were still standing for each other. So it was like, yes, we might have our differences, which is very normal for any relationship, right? So even while having those differences, if there was ever a need, they were all very together, which made me see, it might be a narrative, but this is not what I have seen. I have seen women supporting each other. Since I saw that at home, that's what happened with my own life. I went to my schools. I had many female friends who I was very close to. And then we shared everything and we cried, laughed, and did everything together, right? So that kind of shaped me into a person I always was. And, I think the real credit goes to them. Because if they wouldn't have been in my life, I don't think so I would have also known that in the real world, where women are not what we are told we are supposed to, but they're just who they are. And it's very beautiful.
100% on point, and that makes me realize two things. One, how your childhood can shape you into the person you are.
Definitely.
Because different childhoods for both of us shaped us and gave us very different experiences. Second, how your reality was different from real/media and you were able to differentiate between screen and reality.
I have always been a very intelligent person.
Yes. So you were only able to do that because you had multiple examples that were proving that to be not true.
Yeah.
In my case, it's not like I did not have any female friends. I have had one friend, Harman, who I have known for so many years.
I think I have known her for years now, at least too.
So I don't remember how many years we have known each other. But she was the only single force in my life who was proving that media, society, and everything else is not true. But that one force was being always defied by so many strong layers that were being piled upon her. So that makes me also realize that in your case, the number of examples outweighed the generic norms.
Definitely. Because I remember my mom had so many friends who I would call Masis, right? And for the longest time, I didn't knew that we are actually not related. I genuinely think that somehow, somewhere they are actually my Masis, but now I know they aren't. So yeah.
Which may think that it's not undoable. This whole narrative of women being against women or pulling each other down or our society being against us being together is not something that we cannot reverse. It's very similar to breaking the generational trauma pattern, as we would not want to transfer our trauma to our next generation. Similarly, we need to intentionally make efforts to set examples for our coming generations or even the generations who are currently younger to us that women can be amazing friends and your life only gets better with them. At this point, I think it is our own doing. And I'm pretty sure you have seen this online, the whole trend about women in men's field.
Oh, they're so funny.
So let's be women in women's field.
Yeah.
Let's stand out there and show that we can thrive together. And we should thrive together.
We should. Because imagine not having women in your life, not having, female friendships in your life. I have gotten more flowers than from my female friends, namely you.
just say that again. Just say that clearly.
Yeah. Then I have gotten from any.
Yeah, just say it clearly.
I have gotten more flowers from you than from any, dating prospects or any other man. And I have, I think, discussed more damning things with my female friends, right? And imagine not having that in your life. How fun are girls' trips? Imagine not having that in your life. Not just the fun stuff. In general, not having that support, not having someone who really understands the nuance of every situation that you're in. It would be a very difficult life to live.
It would be. And it's not far from reality. And the reason I say that is there is this narrative of women being the nurturers, the caretakers. And I know it's not a narrative. That is who we as women are somewhere built like. I'm not
debatable, but okay.
Yes, I knew you were gonna say that, so let me complete. I know that the level of that differs in each person, and it also depends upon if you want to make that your stronger trait or not. So it's completely subjective, but it is still a very strong narrative for our gender out there. What we forget is that we, being the nurturers, the providers, the caretakers, is always presented as us doing that for the opposite gender. Like, you are a good mother, you are a good sister, you are a good sister always to a brother, okay? You are a good wife, you are a good girlfriend, you are a good teacher. But why do we forget that we can be that same nurturing, providing souls for the women in our life too?
Right? It's like oxymoron, because you are good everything, but you're not a good friend. Like, what BS is that?
So it's also intentional reminders to our own self that when we do these caring, loving things, they should not just be restricted to the men in our life.
Mm-hmm.
They are supposed to be shared and done for the women in our life too. And like you saying, me giving you flowers, right? I know women love flowers. I have had so many of my female friends tell me that they have never received flowers from their husbands or their boyfriends or whoever they are with. And that, in a very small way, actually breaks my heart. Because
it's not the flowers.
It's the intention behind it.
It's the doing the tiniest non-consequential thing for someone else.
But then at the same point where it breaks my heart that why your man is not doing that for you, but then it is also a reality check for me that why can't I do it for you? Why the flowers always have to be coming from
a romantic
partner?
Yeah.
Like, this is just an example, right? So similarly, there are several other things that we can do for our female friends.
Yeah. I mean, hashtag break all social norms, right?
I know that you have talked about this a bit in the beginning, but can you articulate for all of us here that how friendships with women add value to your life?
I'll start from my childhood. If I didn't had the friends I had, I don't think so I would be the person who I am. I think there were some times in my life where all I wanted was just to be normal. And if I didn't had the friends I had, I wouldn't have experienced a single day of how a normal life should be. You know, I had a safe space where I could talk about anything and everything. I could talk about if I have crush on anyone. I could talk about the recent books I was reading, the things I want to do, what was going on in my family. And without that, it's very hard to imagine how I would have turned out. And talking about present, I think maybe some people would expect that I would have a Mount Everest level of substantial answer to this question. But what my reality is right now, that I'm happy, and I owe a big chunk of that to my female friendships, because I have a safe space where I can go and talk about everything, talk about the major decisions of my life, talk about how I want my future to be and what things I want, deconstruct a lot of learning, also fight the patriarchy, and also make plans, just have fun. And I think life should be fun. Moreover, the most important part of it is a very judgment free zone. The most magical moments of a friendship is tiny little things like calling each other on FaceTime and just doing nothing. Or, calling each other and just be like, oh, do my shoes go with this outfit? Or like seeing a cute little thing and then be like, this made me think of you. It's very small little things every day, which just makes your heart feel happy and full. And I don't think so anyone could live without that kind of love. They could live, but not very happily. And that is what my friendships, that's what women in my life give me. And tons of knowledge, their own experience, the amount of stories I have heard and learned lessons from, so I don't need to repeat those mistakes. The barriers they have broken, so I don't have to break them if I want to walk on their way.
I think all your female friends listening to this episode are gonna sleep with a full heart today.
As they should. They are the most perfect, beautiful, serene people out there ever. It's about me. What about you?
I think I am gonna keep my answer to one line and keep it open for interpretation.
Okay.
My friendships with women in my life are my home away from home.
Oh, that's very poetic.
I am a writer after all.
Yes. Well, with that, I think anyone who's listening, to the 13 people I know who definitely are listening,
something that we would say to you is to sit down with yourself 5 minutes today and reflect upon all the wonderful women you have in your life and the relationships you share with them, what they add to your life and value they have brought to you. And in case you have not acknowledged them, maybe just send them flowers. They'll be happy.
Yes, buy them flowers.
Also, if you have women in your life who are making it miserable, set boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Have open conversations. If they are not understanding what you're saying, set boundaries. Do what makes your life and your mental health better.
I mean, if you're in the position to make them learn, do that. And if you're not, completely okay to just bow out.
Because it's not always easy to take on to the responsibility of making someone else realize their responsibility.
True.
So do what you can, but do what's best for you. Well, that's all the preaching we have for you today. Signing off.
See you next time.